Welcome to the Religiously Offensive Podcast.
It is a male-female thing because I'm sure men are just a lot worse at multitasking.
There's probably like generally like I just feel like I don't know a lot of guys who like subtitles, but I feel like everyone I know who likes subtitles are women.
Yeah, I'd subscribe to that.
Hot take.
Yeah.
Do a little more digging and come back with
Subscribe to
our
that.
findings. Should we wade into the? I know we've talked about it a little bit, but I just keep seeing everyone on the internet. This Andrew Tate guy.
Oh, yeah, I don't know anything about him.
Me neither.
Man, okay, I don't know why they're showing this to me then. Evidently, I'm like shocker, narcissistic misogynist. They just feed me what I like.
Folks.
Shocker.
Shocker.
But it's this dude. Okay, so it's this guy who has a background as a mixed martial artist and like pretty successfully. I believe he was a world champion in some organizations. I mean, maybe not the UFC, but dude's got a pretty solid resume. And then he also he has some like online university thing where he like teaches people how to, it's called like Hustler University or something like that. He makes money there. He owns like casinos in like Romania. And then he does a bunch of stuff with like OnlyFans type girls wherever he like manage. I don't know. It's a bunch of that stuff. But anyways, This dude essentially, yeah, like 21st century pimp. This guy, he's real hip with the times, bro. And he's been going viral because he'll like just be on a podcast and just being like, a woman is my property. And
I know who you're
and people are
talking
just
about.
like, you
What?
can't say that. But he's just like, IDGAF. Like,
I know who you're talking about.
he's bald.
Is it that guy that Dave Portnoy talked to recently?
Yeah,
too?
yeah. But
Didn't he ask him if he was like, he was like basically like, okay, so, like he tried to like switch it around. So it was like, all right, well, are you allowed to go do this? He's like, no. He's like,
exactly.
Well,
No,
what's
he's
the difference? And he was like, the woman. He's like, if it's my girlfriend or my wife, she is now like, she's like my property, like mine.
correct.
And they're like, well, that's kind of why people call you.
Yeah, because they'll just be like, you don't see where the
People are getting
sexism
this
stuff
from.
comes from. And it's like, but it's funny because like the problem is there is a shred of truth to what he's saying.
Sure.
That's what really offends people is like, we talked about it a little bit. Was it this morning? Where it's like we live in a culture where it's so safe that we don't need gender roles, right?
Yeah.
It's like 500 years ago, if you got people that are coming to rape and pillage your like whole livelihood,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, most capable fighters are out fighting, the most capable nurturers are nurturing. It's like, you know, we live in this world now where like we have the privilege of not really needing gender roles, which is a pretty new thing.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy is like super old school.
Yeah.
But part of it, it's like, when I think about it, it's like, okay, like he's like just basically providing an opportunity or contract to a girl and just be like, hey, like you can be a part of the squad. Like there's going to be like a few of you and it is what it is, like you in or not. And
So
kinda how he rolls.
He's in like relationships with all these OnlyFans girls.
no, well, I don't know if they do OnlyFans. I think he's very outspoken. He has like multiple girlfriends. And he's
I
allowed
can't
to
with that guy.
he's allowed to do his thing, but they're not allowed
Yeah.
to do their thing, right? But it's like it's an agreed upon.
That's how polygamy is, right?
Well, he's not a married guy, is he?
right.
Right. So.
Well, because that's the problem with polygamy. Even the people that I know, it's like
The
you
guys
still
can do
won't find
whatever they want.
Yeah, you're still
and the
not going to
girls
find a
can't.
guy that's cool with the girl messing
Right.
around. That's always that's what people.
Well, it's like,
say.
look, if
So
there's a woman
crazy.
that's okay to be with him, like, go for it, girl.
Well, because the thing, okay, here's the thing. Like, the dude is stupid rich. He flies everywhere on private planes. Like, he's going to provide, like, an A+ type lifestyle.
Yeah,
Most
if
of
that's
these
what's
girls.
important to you.
But in the
Take
other,
it.
the other challenge is like in that world, most of the women who think they're like not being cheated on are probably being cheated on. Like in that world, if your dude's out flying like private jets,
If you have
and
to
see
question
him
if you're
once
being
every,
cheated on, you're more than likely being
Well, yeah,
cheated
but
Yeah, I
if
mean,
the dude
when you're in
has
that
like 5
world-
girlfriends and then he goes and cheats on him with someone else, is like, okay.
So that's
what's-
not okay,
what's
though.
6?
but in his mind, I guess I don't even.
He has to be committed to
Well,
his 5.
I think so. He just keeps him in the loop. I don't know.
Just so you guys are aware.
I have no idea.
Wow.
But he's, dude. I don't know why I just see him everywhere on the internet right now,
I've been seeing a lot of them too. Yeah.
and he's just.
I haven't seen him at all.
It's
I mean,
just
I
this
guess I'm
bald
not.
dude who's hot
I'm
takes.
just on Reddit.
Nothing but hot takes. But I just
Nice.
think it's so funny.
That is funny.
So good. He was on like a podcast, and it was just him and like the female host. And I mean, just them. Like, if you could make a list of like 10 things you should never say out loud to a woman, I mean,
He set them
he
all.
just nails them. Just right down the list. Like, he does
What was the
not
lady's?
care.
What was the lady's response?
Well, because
She just
I
like-
forget. I remember at one point he was just like, "We could solve all the problems in the world if women would start putting their body counts on their foreheads." And you're just like, "That's offensive." You're just like,
What problems are we solving with that?
right? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Well, he's clearly like, yeah. I mean, he just wants to have the power.
Yeah, he's clearly got it all together for sure.
yeah. He's figured it out.
But again, you know, I give him props. You're like, you drew your line in the sand, and people know what they're getting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
Yeah,
to me
Right.
that's more respectable than like guys that'll put on this facade and then behind the scenes they're fucking around.
sure.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Sorry for the hard F. I haven't done that yet.
At least you know he's an asshole right off the back.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, manage expectations.
You know what's really weird today? I looked up, and I don't know why I looked it up. I was just curious. The median age for the global population is estimated to be 31 years old.
Huh.
Exactly. Gabby's under that, so she's like, "Huh." Me and Justin are just like rethinking our entire lives right now.
So it's more likely
we're older than
more
half
likely
the
that
people
I'll-
in the world.
it's well, we'd probably have to look exactly at US like stats, but
Yeah.
so it's more likely that I'm gonna die.
What?
I mean, we're all going to die, but
Like I'm 32.
Everyone
31
dies.
is the median age.
Yeah.
So I'm closer to death
Yeah. Well, than half the world.
than my birth.
Well, I don't know about that. Over
You
the
have to
hill
look
in
at
the
US.
U.S. is
oh, that's
like
so depressing.
usually
I don't want to
40.
talk about that.
Is usually 40. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Nah, we gotta start making babies or something.
I mean, half of that shit though, when you're growing up, you don't even remember. So
Didn't they say like statistically based on reproduction rates that white people will be like the minority here in the next like 20 years?
I
Purely
mean, it
just
would-
because we're not
It would
popping out
make
babies.
sense.
I mean, dude, in 200 years, we're all gonna be some shade of something.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not gonna be white anymore, because everyone's gonna be mixed. You know what I mean?
I'm part African actually.
Okay. dude.
All right, let's. Oh, the median in the U.S. is
23 and me, man. That's what they told
median
me.
in the U.S. is 38.
See, I
Oh.
feel better about that.
So
Still
3,
lower.
4 years?
3 years.
Yeah.
Shut up, Gabby.
I got a few years until I'm closer to death. That's good.
Yeah.
2 more.
No, that's.
Okay.
What state has the highest median age?
I would say,
Maine. It's 44.
damn, you didn't even give me a chance
Maine?
to guess.
Florida's number 5 at 42.
Wow.
So I'm not over the hill
Yeah, you
in
guys
Florida
are-
until
you
I'm
guys are good.
43.
We do pretty good here, I'd say.
Yeah, but
Wow.
this is where people come to retire.
But median age literally just
That
means
makes no difference.
Is it
that's
just-
not a factor? Yeah.
is it just average? Is that
No,
something?
median. You have to do median.
Just the most common.
Average is like average. Okay, that didn't make any sense what I just said. So
average,
average
is like,
like
average.
you know,
That
you
cleared
take
it
a
up,
whole
yeah.
group, divide by the number that are in that group. That doesn't necessarily
Correct.
tell you the number of people that are above a certain age. So median is like literally half the people are above, half the people are below when you say median. You know what I'm saying?
You know, like,
Mm-hmm.
If
Yeah,
you
I got you.
you average like the numbers like 1, 2, and 10, right? It's going to be like 6.5 or something, right? So it's like, but if the median of that number is 2, that was a horrible example because then really meant to be like an outlier.
Yep. 4.333333. Yeah.
But 2 probably better represents like what the typical, representation is. You know what I mean?
Right. Because like the super high numbers will jack up the average. Super low numbers are going to throw it off.
So
it's just the most
median
people.
is the best way to do it.
It's just the most people.
I don't know what you mean by that.
So like the most people are right around. If the median age is 42, the biggest population
you could say
density
that.
would be centered around 42.
You could say that, but it's really just
Literally a dividing line.
yes, half or above, half or below,
That's easy to think of.
right?
Fair enough.
Because you could have tons of people like in their 20s, and that could be like a larger part of the group, but it doesn't matter because it's just half, right? So it's like the group above 31, like the majority of them could be in their 50s. Who knows? But it's just like that's the dividing line.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. Interesting.
I can't believe I had to explain median to you guys. We
Well,
do
I feel like
demographics. Well,
You didn't explain anything to me.
Yeah, Gabby's
I had a pretty
like
rough
Say, I was
understanding.
here.
GTFO.
Median
Justin.
age. Yeah. I would have missed that one on the test. Yeah.
It's
Did
definitely
you
not on the test.
did you see Jackass? You were here when we were watching
Part of it.
Unfortunately,
Oh, dude,
yeah.
the flip flop.
So many penises.
The flip flop
many.
slapping them. You remember that?
Yeah.
It was the game show type thing.
Remember when you did the wrong person?
Yeah. and then he did poopies.
Yeah.
Dude, it was so funny because he's horrible at math. He's just like, what's the area of a square? And he's like sitting there, 37. And then just slaps him. And like halfway through the game, you realize it's a flip flop on this like mechanical arm. It's just like, pow.
How much? Yeah.
Honestly, like,
How much whip are you getting, and how much is it just blunt force?
You're getting both. I don't know.
are they just sitting in a room, like, thinking of all these just ridiculous ideas to terrorize each other?
Yeah, that's how they sell.
I mean, I guess if you're making a lot of money, but that sounds like torture.
What do you think the worst thing is they did on this last one?
I don't know. That's that one where I think it was Poopy who had to bite or kiss that snake, and he like
That was tough.
bit him like twice in the face.
I mean, to me, the most messed up one was that rattlesnake prank.
Oh,
where
yeah, that
they
was
thought they were
wrong.
just trapped
That
in that
was
room
wrong.
with
They
that.
thought they were all
I mean,
dying.
Yeah, but as
Hell
far as the
no.
one that would hurt the most,
But actual,
Yeah, like actual
like,
that would
pain.
just be a mind.
but
F.
Aaron got hit in the nuts. I don't know how many times with that cup that did nothing.
Dude, when he took that slap shot
I
right
guess I
to
just
the
don't know
cup,
that level of pain.
You're just like, what?
hockey, like a professional hockey player.
Yeah,
those
right to the
slap
nuts.
shots
Oh,
gotta
that was
be.
the one where they were testing the cup.
Yeah, and then it was
Oh,
like
he got it like right on the inside of his thigh.
no, because then he was like bleeding out of it. Like
Oh yeah, his balls
Well,
were
that was
bleeding.
that was from Pogo Stick.
Oh yeah, he landed on his balls with the focus.
Yeah, that one. That was hard to watch because I was just like, this isn't even entertaining.
Oh,
This
I mean, the
is
one
just-
where I
this
couldn't.
is-
So bad.
This
The one where
hurts me.
Steve-O had the queen bee tied to his dick. Well, that was
was
rough to
pretty
watch.
that was
Yeah.
absurd. Well,
He's just sitting there screaming because they're stinging him.
I
It's
didn't
just
know
like-
bees did that. Like they just.
I thought they died after you got bit. Like after they stung you,
Maybe,
they
but
died.
he had stingers all in his nutsack. That was so funny. I don't even know why I brought that up.
Yeah, I don't know either. It was a great topic. for the podcast.
Sorry, guys.
Well, because I saw it again. I've seen it like 3 times now. Because we'll be with a random group of people and
Have
like,
you
hey,
seen
have
it
you
yet?"
seen this?
Oh wow.
It is so funny and so inappropriate
So bad.
Well,
in most places.
but it's almost like it's like a beautiful homage to just the simplicity of man. It's just
Yeah.
like don't have to get fancy with it. Just hit him in the nuts,
That's all.
and
What's comedy?
we will watch. We will watch over
Fantastic.
and over again.
I love it.
Nothing new under the sun, as they say.
That's right. Did you want to introduce us into our topic today?
Are we gonna do it?
Yeah. First of all, everyone, if you're still with us again, like and subscribe, share the podcast with your buddies.
With your
all right.
best mates.
That was it. So go ahead, Jess. What were we going to talk about today?
So shower thought that recently had. Just thinking about this, the whole like game of life, whatever. I mean, just thinking about the way we do things.
If we were to have a comparison, we would say that life is like a game. Just
sure.
No, it's like a box of chocolates.
Do you have an analogy using that?
He was
No.
also a stupid person. Sorry.
Okay.
A stupid. I feel like he was a retarded person. Like he was mentally not there, right?
Yeah.
You can't say stupid, Justin.
Like,
like what?
Dang it. Yeah.
Justin's about to get us so many hate
Oh my
comments.
God.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But if I say
Jesus.
retarded,
Just got
I
this
feel like
person.
I'm going to get it too.
Yeah,
cut that
you
part
are.
out.
All right, Gabby, can you just tell us what kind of person he was?
Just cut. Just
Never mind. I'm so sorry I brought up the box of chocolates.
Just cut that.
Oh.
Anyways,
So, and thinking about life as a game, right? It's like, what are the rules? How do we play? How do we win? Right? Maybe not the healthiest way to approach things, but largely, like,
That's how a lot of people do.
I mean, America. These are the rules. This is the game we're playing. This is how you win, right? Whatever. I just find it interesting that, like, learning the rules to the game shouldn't take a lot of time. I mean, sure, even if it takes a little bit of time or a little bit of time, no problem. Like, whatever. But
No,
like,
it's like when we play pickleball. Okay.
correct.
So it's like the rules are a little confusing at first.
Like,
But then it's like, okay, you know, after like 3 or 4 sessions, you're getting it down. You play, 5 to 10 games every session.
mm-hmm.
You got it, the rules. You don't have to like talk or argue about the rules anymore. Just play the game. Continue.
Exactly. So it's just, to me, it's interesting because, like, for that example, like when we gather to play tickle. I don't even care. That was perfect. I'm just going to call it tickleball. It's too perfect. I just imagine.
Oh.
That's what I imagine you guys doing out there at 7 a.m.
Oh, my abs hurt.
okay, stop.
Oh, man. Wow.
We go out there and play tickle.
It could have been any other rhyme.
You could have said anything else.
I think, yeah, it's going to just forever be tickleball. I don't think there's any other way to do that. Oh, wow.
Okay, I gotta get myself together.
Oh, man.
This is an emotional podcast.
All the wieners and jackass and threw me into a tizzy. Yeah, we're just
Threw you into a tickle.
okay,
all right. So when we're tickling,
I'm good.
all right.
So basketball.
We can cut out some of that, right?
any other sport. Just can't.
Next thing he's gonna do is say dick golf.
yeah. And we're back. Oh, no. Wait till you hear about how cockroaches got their name.
We gotta fact check
Let's
that.
not. Yeah, that wanted to be something. This is 100% fact, and I'm going to tell you.
Okay, so, all right, back on course. So, like, in the context of, like, a game, right? So, if we're going to play pickleball, or we're going to play basketball, like, when we gather to play these games, like, sure, if we need to spend time, like, making sure we understand the rules, that's helpful. But largely, when we get together to actually do these things, we should just be, like, playing basketball. We don't need to, like, continuously learn about the rules. And I feel like sometimes church can, like, the approach to it, to me, like, if I'm thinking about the church, like big C church as an organization, like on large scale, it's like, it feels like Sundays are largely just this constant retraining or reteaching of the rules of the game. Like, we're not actually playing the game. We're just spending all of our time learning about how the game is supposed to be played, and then we don't ever actually play it. Or at least we don't put like intention into actually doing these things. Like I remember like when it was not Wilkerson. It was Purpose Driven, Rick Warren, Purpose Driven Life Guy. I remember like one Sunday out of the year, he would literally just not have Sunday services, and he would just tell his people like, "Hey, go help your neighbor. Like just go do something nice with like these 2 hours that you would normally come to church, and just go actually do something nice for somebody." Like, go play the game.
But he couldn't do that every week or he wouldn't be able to pay his bills.
Right, yeah.
So I get it that that's a cool illustration or whatever that he did. But, like, how is this sustainable? What do you do?
Well, I think the whole thing is kind of screwed.
Because it's like when we get together to play pickleball, we actually play the game and then we, like, leave. Mm-hmm. So is that so you're saying that the time you'd spend in church is the time that you would spend like on the streets? Or
but what is that? And then again, like, what does
like
it even look like?
Setting
is
up
it just
food drive
helping
or
poor people? Is it just feeding people? Like maybe it's just we love our convenience and this compartmentalization where we can just be like, all right, let's put on the Christian hat to go to church and come home and then take that hat off and not really have to actually be a Christian.
People should be playing the game all week, right?
Well, it should never. Yeah, ideally, it would never stop.
And then Sunday's just like your continuing education.
I guess
happens every week.
So I guess my thought, I guess when I think about it, it's like if every time we gather, we're constantly having to talk about the rules or how the game is supposed to be played. My mind just goes to like, are we even having real conversations about like, do you even want to play this game?
I think we overcomplicate it. I think it's like, you know, pastors are always saying, "Oh, we'll come back next week because we're going to talk about, you know, whatever." Yeah. And it's just like we've taken, you know, I've said this before, we take agency away from people and like the ability to like decipher Jesus' commands, you know, love the Lord your God and love your neighbor. Mm-hmm. And we've made it so much more complicated, just like they did with the law, however many 600 and some commands that were in the Old Testament. We do the same thing when we're like, some pastors just like, all right, we're going to do a 10-part series on, you know, whatever topic. And then it's just like, all right, well, don't miss next week, because it's like they have to leave a cliffhanger so they can just get people in the door and coming to church. Mm-hmm. But then it's just like, well, did we need a 10-part series? Or did like Jesus kind of cover that, and it's just like your common sense will tell you what to do in this situation.
Right.
So,
right.
But a lot of people are in denial about their conscience, you know? Mm-hmm. I mean, they'll pretend to not understand or whatever, so as if that like gives them a free pass to do stuff.
It's just this weird, it's a weird, like, I don't know how to outsource my thinking in the sense of like this thing or this book tells me I should think about things this way, and then it's like that's just gospel. Like that's just how I'm not wired like that. Like I don't know how to read something and just being like, this is it. I'm gonna adopt this operating system. It's like, I just have like I just ask questions. I want to know why.
I mean, I think it's valuable. It's just the problem. There are so many people that don't want to acknowledge that the Bible is ancient text. Mm-hmm. You know, it's they want to, you know, believe that it was just, you know, if God were to write it today, he'd write it the exact same. Mm-hmm. I don't think that's true. If God were to inspire a new group of people to write, you know, direction, it would look like our culture looks like today.
They'd
like
probably
through the lens of that culture.
Yeah, they'd probably frown upon slavery a little bit more.
Sure. There'd be a lot of things that would be different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like women and head coverings and all that shit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and those were just like letters from Paul to the churches, and you know we've talked about that before. But there's so many people who just don't want to acknowledge that part of it. It's just like the message is still there, but you know when we're spoon fed and like we keep getting taught the rules every week by people who are looking for fresh ways to teach the rules, and they start teaching like stuff that's not really. Mm-hmm. Not really 100% agreed upon by all Christians, right? Like, and it's just because I mean that's easy for a pastor to flavor something just the way he thinks and the way he believes. Sure. like you were just saying with one of the pastors that you liked, how he was saying that, like, what were you saying? How it was like he was saying that God did this when he created the garden, and this was his intention, and you're like, you don't know his intention.
Right, yeah. And it was Judah Smith. I love Judah. I mean, I've read all of his books.
Yeah, so do I.
And this was, I think,
I mean, dude,
called How's Your Soul? Is the name of the book or something? But
yeah,
he
but I mean,
basically
you could first of all, you could just say anyone, even if you like them, that don't like them, they could be like whatever popular pastor. Everyone's gonna say stupid shit once in a while. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, you're gonna be you're up there teaching for how many hours in a year? Like, you're gonna say some stupid shit. Mm-hmm. And I think, like, you should get a pass for some of that. Like, I get it. Like, you're just trying to whatever. But go on.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a weird thing because I can only approach it and think about it the way that my brain works. And like, I think about someone, I think we've briefly talked about it, but like a Smith Wigglesworth who, like, at least within, I don't know, church, or at least 20th century church history, I guess he would have been considered a pretty well-known guy in America. But like, there's supposedly accounts where he prayed over people and they would come back from the dead or whatever. I mean, the guy just kind of built a reputation. And when they asked him about it, like, he personally never wrote any books, and his personal belief or conviction was that, like, if I believe that the Bible is truth, like, why would I need to write a book to help you? Like, just go to the Bible. And so he had no interest in writing books, which I personally respect, because it back to intent. Like, you don't know if someone wrote this book because, like, they felt like it was a good idea, and like, people make money when they write books. Like, it's just the whole marriage. Once money and ministry becomes tied, like, it just gets murky. Like, how do you
money and then power also, popularity.
Yeah.
All that has a negative impact on ministry, I think. So it brings yourself into it huge.
Yeah. You almost wonder, like, because you go back through the Old Testament. So you got the Israelites, and you've got, like, the tribe of, or the Levites, who kind of handled ministry, so to speak, for the nation. But it's like, it would be cool to go back and be a fly on the wall just to figure out, like, how did these people have other jobs? Were they just subsidized? Did people, like, were there other hunters that, like, would kill extra animals for the Levites? Because are these guys just doing their thing all day? I just don't know. I don't know how it worked.
I don't either, but if it's anything like, Paul talks about, like, granted, he was full-time, but I feel like a lot of people had other jobs that would do any kind of ministry. And I don't know if it was that back. You're talking about Old Testament, though, right?
Because, Paul didn't even, like, I mean, it's a big thing now where people will, like missionaries will come home to do a year of, like, I think it's called itineration, where basically they come back home and they just go around and they just try to make connections and get, like, contributions, and they try to help fund the ministry or whatever. But, like, even, I mean, I don't know of any verses, like, Paul talks about thanking, like, was it the church in Corinth? I forget which one. He thanked one of the churches for being generous and giving him money. But, like, there's no passage where he's, like, asking for money.
Did they give him money, or did they just give him, like, supplies and a place to stay and stuff?
It just talks about, like, an offering that they gave him. So I don't know exactly what it looked like, but I don't know anywhere where Paul was, like, looking for it. So one thing if people want to bless you and just give you money and help you, but, like,
no, he never asked for it. I mean, he made it clear, like, well, he made it pretty clear. He was like, he prided himself in not asking for it.
Right.
So I don't know.
Mm-hmm. It's just, dude, what do you do when you're, like, in a culture like America where successful people have nice things, no matter what vocation. So spiritual leaders have nice things, and it just, like, throws a frickin' wrench into the whole thing. Like, it's like, I want my pastor to be like Gandhi. Like, this dude gave up all the material stuff and went off into the wilderness and like tried to figure it all out. Like,
I mean, there's an element of
that's
respect.
someone I could trust.
You're just like, yeah. It's almost like you would feel like people who are legitimately called in ministry would be called to do that.
Dude, that's why I could never really pull the trigger. I was just like, dude, I've got way too much inside of me that I'm too selfish. And maybe it's just I did a bad job of killing those demons or whatever.
Well, I think you did a good job of recognizing them, because a lot of people end up in ministry that never recognized them, and now it's tainting their ministry.
Well, and it's just too common to to turn ministry into a job. It's just too easy now. I mean,
yeah. And we've created that, like we were talking before, I think we've created this whole thing where
how do
we talk about the rules every week because, they need you coming back. They need your offerings and tithes and stuff, and they need to pay the bills.
Well, it seems like, I guess to me, it just seems like no one's interested in actually playing the game. Like, we come back to church to constantly relearn the rules, and it's like no one wants to actually play the game.
Well, yeah, it's funny because there are people that's talking about like, oh, are you getting fed? Where are you getting fed? If you're serving a lot or something, it's just like, well, is that the point for me to feed myself? Or, I mean,
well, dude, even the revolution with like the internet, like a lot of people are probably getting fed like from pastors that aren't even at their church. So then at that point, it's like, so if I'm going to give money, my money should probably follow.
Yeah. Well, the other part is like, all right, if you're going to have that experience outside of church, like, what do you go to church for then?
I mean, yeah. That's why I stopped going, because I was just like, I mean, I guess in a nutshell, this is my life, because I was just like,
yeah.
I'm not doing this anymore. Like,
I mean,
I
that's
tried to play the game
so you would
for
say,
so many years.
You would say, and this is what I don't like. I don't like when a church is so focused on the message that it's like the whole worship experience gets lost, because I think that's valuable. I think it's valuable for people, and I think it's valuable for their connection to God. It's valuable for their connection to other people, because you feel other people's presence in a room when you're doing that.
Yeah,
but when you sit down, all of a sudden you feel isolated again. Mm-hmm. And so it's just like, if you're going to argue that Sunday morning is for anything, it's just to gather and talk, like, and have genuine relationship with people. Yeah. It's not so much focused on, but everyone focused on, everything leads up to the message. Like, the message is this big thing.
It's the crown jewel, when it shouldn't. Yeah. It should be common knowledge. Like, we shouldn't even need to talk about these things. Like, and that's where it's just like, I look at the whole thing and I'm like,
it's almost like it would be better served as a Q&A every week.
Sure.
This is like hey, I'll do my best to answer questions you might have.
Something. I mean, you got to gauge the people, like, figure out where they're really at.
I mean, I've been, dude, I mean, it's just like no one says anything I'm surprised about anymore.
Like in church?
Yeah. I mean, people can represent some a different way. Oh, I didn't think about it like that before. But you're
not getting your socks blown off by some revelation or whatever. No, I agree.
And if you're in church for any amount of time, you're going to feel the same way. Well, ultimately.
And the other problem is, like, all this stuff is getting recycled now. Like, it's like, I talked about in another podcast, like, one of my first experiences at a church down here, like, the senior pastor came on a Wednesday night and literally just ripped some dude's sermon, like, almost word for word.
Yeah.
And look, honestly, I don't even care. Like, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, if it resonated, whatever. But it's like, you should probably like at least give the guy credit if you're gonna just rip the whole thing and use like its jokes and everything.
Yeah.
But whatever. I don't care. That's between like you and your God. I mean, that's not really an issue for me. But I don't know. I just I look at this thing and I'm like, this is the conversation I have with myself mentally. It's like, I've been doing this for so long and I am not even good at playing this game. Like, what am I doing? At some point, it's like, if I don't really want to play this game, why am I showing up every week to try to tell other people how to play the game if I'm not even genuinely interested in playing it myself?
Yeah. No, and it's good that you recognize that and hit pause. But I mean, what I'm trying to like think about it as it relates to this whole like learning the rules. We go here just to read the manual every week, and you know, it's like with the game, I would get so frustrated. Like, hey, can I just play the game? Like, right? And granted, what the game is just life. Like, life is the game, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that you're doing a bad job if you're not like out on the street corners.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
You don't have to be out on the street corners.
I don't think playing the game literally means like we gather and then we go to Lake Eola and we preach the gospel for 2 hours. Like, no. I think the game, in my mind, is, do we really believe this is how the universe works and how we got here, and then what happens next? Do we really all believe the same thing? And then it's like, once you're in, that's why it's like, it's hard for me to go through like the Acts 2 account of the church and then just look at what we're doing now and like, dude, this is not that. So you can call it what you want to call it, but like,
yeah, we've talked about that before.
I don't know, and I don't know how to put the monkey back in the bottle, if
it's the genie,
if you will. It's the classical Pineapple Express reference.
So what?
Monkey's out of the bottle.
Oh. I thought it was Genie,
Sorry,
but it's fine.
It is, but it was. Yeah, it's James Franco says it in Pineapple Express.
I see. Yeah. You said Pineapple Express. Oh, I didn't hear you say that. Mm-hmm. I see.
Such a good movie.
Okay, so that's funny. Yeah. We need a little James Franco marathon,
dude.
It would be like James Franco, Danny McBride, Seth Rogen.
Ever
they
since
all kind of make
did
those kind of.
Ever since Franco did that one weird movie, like remember where he like remade the worst movie of all time? I was like, oh, hey, Mark. I'm talking about like just
I
like
think so. I think I know vaguely.
The dumbest movie ever. Like I watched it.
Yeah.
I'm a James Franco stan, so like I'm here for it. But it was a.
We need to watch This Is the End.
Watch.
Yeah, that's just some of the stuff's so funny. And I liked Land of the Lost, but I don't think you guys have seen that.
Your Highness, I think it's called Your Highness. Dude, I watched it this weekend. It was funny.
Yeah, but
classic.
So I guess what was saying is so it's what is that? Life is the game, right? So we live life every day. We were playing the game every day. So instead of going and hearing the instructions, like what do you? Because I get it. Like if I think like with any skill, anything, like once you learn how to do it, you don't go back and read the instructions.
Well, exactly. And the problem is once you really begin to deconstruct, because this was my problem with all of this. It was like, it's probably not even a good topic for a podcast because like it literally is basically just like, we suck at Christianity. Like the game of Christianity, like what it's supposed to be, we're pretty trash at it. Mm-hmm. And that maybe it's just because we're humans.
Yeah, I would say that.
But ultimately, it's just like when one of the core like pillars or foundational aspects of Christianity is meant to be like selflessness and not a pursuit of materialism, it's hard to square that circle with just being American.
Yeah.
It's like we make everything about
It's hard to find
things.
any good examples of who have done it well either.
So then you wonder.
And if there are any, you probably haven't heard of them because they're not popular.
Right.
So there are probably some really great examples of that we'll never hear of.
For sure. Well, and then that's the problem is the more and more you kind of reverse engineer the thing, you're just like, I don't think anyone really wants to play this game. Mm. Like that's the problem is how much of this is really a fear thing. And we're just like, I just kind of want to make sure I go to the good place. But it's like, we don't want to like, I don't know what to do because no one's doing it. Like not a single person. Like I can't find one church out here in America that I could look at and just be like, that looks like an Acts 2 type of church. And I'm sure they do exist. I've just not seen them.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely there are. But they'd probably look more like communes is how we would see them.
Well, and I just know my own personal stuff and inability to really, like everyone loves the idea of like savior, right? Everyone loves the idea of Jesus the savior, but like we don't do good with like the lordship thing.
Yeah.
Like it's a weird. I just think about my brain, the way it works. It's like I like to explore and figure things out. Like I don't like being told what to think.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, I think I used to accept to be told what to think, but then at some point I started rejecting it. Like, yeah, I mean, not rejecting it, more like cautious acceptance. Like, you know, I'm going to think about and do my own research on this. And
Well, it's like, dude, like think about America. Like, what is America? It was a bunch of rebels that were just like, you want to tax me 2% on my tea? Suck it, bro. We will go to war and murder all of you for our independence.
yeah,
Like over like a tiny tax on tea.
I think that was more of a straw that broke the camel's back than anything.
No taxation without representation.
Yeah, that's it.
But by nature, like Americans, we're like rebels, rebellious.
How
Like,
do you
we win
define America, Gabby?
What? Sorry, I have not been paying attention.
a bunch of
I
rebel
know.
gangsters?
How do you define America? She's got no context. When we were just
no
saying.
idea.
She's like, it's pretty fine. I do what I like most of the time.
America, guns,
America
Trump
again.
2024.
2024.
You know, at this point,
I hope that doesn't. I hope that's not America.
at this point, it is sad because I think largely the Trump phenomenon was not really about Trump at all.
No, it was just a split.
It was-
of the country.
No, it was about
People
a
seeing the
silent-
country moving in a direction,
Yeah.
and this guy was like, "Hey, let's think about it."
Now, a lot of people will not agree on Trump anymore. There's a lot of
That's what
people
I'm saying.
that did vote for him that would not vote for him again. But I think that silent majority still exists that is not okay where things are headed, and they don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So
It was the end of the day, dude. Like, it's like,
yeah.
how bad does it have to get that people like? I don't even know where we go from here because it's just like, dude, I don't care what you say. I want $2 a gallon gas and like eggs that aren't $5 for a dozen. If I want like chickens that haven't been tortured, right? I saw this documentary
yeah.
on chickens and it is so messed up. Like the average egg, like they live in like a one, like
just stop. I'm not interested
I don't want
in
to know
hearing
either.
this.
like a
Yeah.
cubicle.
We can kill this conversation.
I buy Aldi
Dude.
eggs. They're the cheapest
Dude,
ones.
you
I
gotta
don't
be.
really eat. I don't eat a lot of eggs, so
I've been big on them lately.
yeah, true.
It just freaks me out.
How do you like your eggs?
I'll do scrambled. I like them.
Let me tell ya.
I like them sunny side.
Oh,
Scrambled
little
and
mixed
sunny
match.
I
is.
like 'em poached
I feel
as
like
well.
two ends of the spectrum
So-
there.
wow.
Poached eggs like
And water.
eggs Benedict. You're a nice eggs
Little
Benedict.
hollandaise, little holland. Is it okay? Is it hollandaise?
Yeah.
There, you pronounce the
Hollandaise
S.
sauce, yeah.
Hollandaise.
Okay.
Isn't it just like mayonnaise and like egg yolk and
Probably mustard
Never
or
made it.
something. Something. Oh no, I tried making it one time. It's hard
yeah.
because you have to.
You have to constantly.
You got to extract the yolk.
Well, no, it's like you have to make sure at one point you heat it and stir it, and like you have to do
Don't
it
you
in
like
this
double
sequence.
boil it or something?
You got to do it in the sequence. Yeah, so like right, but it's kind of like
You just drop the egg in the
it's,
boiling
It's
water.
Alfredo sauce, like in the way that
Yeah, for-
you have to prevent it
for
from
poaching it?
separating.
You have to make like a little tornado in there.
You need like a current.
Yeah, so that process in itself is complicated, but I'm talking about the sauce.
Yeah.
To make the sauce is really difficult. I tried it multiple times, and it's like you just have to make like so it separates like Alfredo does, and then it's all messed up. So it's like to get that consistency is difficult.
Yeah, eggs Benedict is fire.
Dude, it's so good.
Little salmon.
Oh, eggs Benedict, like salmon Benedict. Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah. Bonefish used to have a killer brunch on Sunday.
I bet they did.
Dude. You just had to buy an entree and then just bottomless mimosas. Just for the fun of it.
What?
Yeah.
That's not a thing anymore, is it?
Sure is not.
Yeah.
Yeah, they stopped that real quick.
Once
I remember
you and
one
Christian went there.
Dude, I remember one time. Yeah. I remember one time I literally went to church and had to help tear down. And then I dipped out early because we had like lunch plans to go to brunch with some friends.
Yeah.
So I just dipped, right?
That's great.
we're mid brunch. I look over and it's the pastor and his wife and their kids coming in. I was just like, oh, hell no. I literally just like, one of the only times in my life I just like, what? Just down into the booth. And like, I can remember this vividly. My friends were like looking at me like, what are you doing? And I'm just like, shut the fuck up. I'm not here. I don't exist. Do not talk to me right now. Like, do not bring attention to the fact that I'm hiding under the table. A grown man, do not look at me. But obviously they had no context or they had no idea what was happening.
At what point?
So they're just like,
how do you smoothly get back up from under the table?
Dude. And of course,
oh, there it is. I found it.
Where we were seated was just like you walk into the restaurant and it's like boom, direct line of sight. So as soon as I remember, I forget who I saw first, but I saw them like walking towards the front door, and I was just like, oh god,
the old guy or the younger guy? Which one was it?
It was the OG victory guy.
Yeah, all right.
The first one.
That's
before
funny.
the other guy took over.
That's funny.
And yeah, and I was just like. Well, because the biggest part of it was like we never, and this is another thing that like I feel like we're not good at just talking about the hard things. Maybe it's just human nature. We avoid confrontation. But it's like if you hire a young guy to be on staff at a church, like you need to like sit down and have like an honest conversation about like, hey, like what are your thoughts on alcohol? How do you approach this thing? It's like a very kind of toss up type of subject. Like it was just never discussed. So like they're walking in. I got a mimosa in front of me.
Are they AG or
no? They're probably chill about it. Honestly, it probably would have been fine. But I was literally just like, run for the hills. Literally,
and that's your upbringing and your conditioning telling you
100%. Well, it was like in crunch time. I got 2 seconds to make a decision. We're running. Like
there you go.
Fight or flight, baby. Like we will live to fight another day. Today is not that day, but we gonna make it.
I've had this thing sitting on my screen ever since you mentioned the cockroaches, and I just wanted to bring it up real quick. I'm derailing a little bit, but it's funny because it's one of those like Alexa answers. No, not you, Alexa. Stop talking. Alexa answers.amazon.com, and it says, "How did cockroaches get their name?" Right. Typical question. So you go down the line of questions. How did fish get their name? Sure. How did dragonflies get their name? How did zebras get their name? Where did fig Newtons get their name? It's like, I can understand all those. And then after that, how do babies get their name? Who asks Alexa this?
Dude.
It's like, Alexa, how do babies get their name? Like, please tell
Isn't
me.
there like
Please tell me it's a 5-year-old asking this.
Isn't there a whole Reddit stream of people like just roasting people who like just ask the most absurd questions about like pregnancy and babies?
Oh, you talking about that? No, there was that guy,
just like
that African dude. It was like, yeah, he just couldn't handle it. Like he read these questions out loud and then was just like, "Are you kidding me?"
Dude, that one interview.
He's like, "These people exist." I was just like, "Oh my gosh!"
Dude,
which interview?
Probably the favorite people on the planet are just straight up Africans.
Yeah,
straight up like no nonsense people. Like they just look at something and they're just like, it is this or it is that. Like it's like we don't need to.
And they're generally happy people too. Like a lot of people I've met, like are just happy, which is they just find that internal joy somewhere.
Well, that's a whole. I mean, kind of like a subtopic off of like today's kind of larger issue was like, yeah, it's pretty much fact that you can go looking around the world and the more impoverished like a community is, probably the happier they are in general.
It's insane to me.
Which is nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the happiest people are the ones that have nothing.
Well, it's not, and that's tough because you could say, well, why aren't impoverished people in America happy?
Because they're looking at all of us
because they're
with
looking
nice
at
things.
everything else.
Yeah.
So if you're impoverished
Expectations.
and you're in an area where everyone else is too, where you're like all in it together, you have like a grounds to be happy because it's like you don't have this huge difference in class.
Mm-hmm. See, it's a weird thing. Like humans need to operate with like the threat of like death. Like when death is like not an option, and so far removed from our normal life, we just
our
become
problems,
complete a-holes.
Yeah, no, our problems.
The worst.
Yeah. Are not real problems.
I mean, that's how you end up with. We got teenagers who genuinely care about climate change, and you're just like, I can promise you, we will die long before this Earth dies. Like the Earth is a living organism. We're not gonna kill it.
I mean, that's
if we do,
that's probably
it's not gonna come out.
That's
of nowhere.
probably the least absurd example, though, because like someone who grows up, that cares about the environment, as long as they don't leverage that to try to like beat people over the head with it, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. I would say the biggest thing, like, remember that video I showed you of the girl who was on Dr. Phil?
Yeah.
He was like, maybe it's time for you to get a job. And she starts bawling.
No.
She's just like, I can't have it. And she's just like, my mom cut my allowance down to like, what was it?
It was $2,500.
$1,000 a month.
Yeah.
I need at least $2,500 a month to provide me the life that I grew up with, and blah, 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 blah. And she's like, I'm like, somebody slap this girl.
Well, like, if I could, with my mind, I would teleport that girl to the Saharan desert.
Yeah.
And it's like, you get to fight a hyena tonight.
Yeah, no kidding.
Like,
something like that.
Yeah, some great. That'd be must-see television.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, it's just, the crazy thing is, she was so naive that she made it all the way to that show. She genuinely thought Dr. Phil was going to help her.
That's what I'm saying. And into the camera, she looked and
such
said,
denial.
Yeah.
And crazy.
She's like, the entire country is watching me right now, doubling down.
Doubling down. That was it. She did.
It's like, agree with me, guys. This is wrong.
And then he was like,
you're crazy.
And maybe you should volunteer to soup kitchen. And then she just starts crying even harder.
Yeah, she's like, I'll take the hyena. No, anything but the soup kitchen. But it really just, we turned ourselves
so
into
funny.
the worst people, dude.
Yeah.
We are the worst.
Which is why we have to keep learning the instructions every week. I don't know what it is. I don't even. Well, there's an argument to be made that as long as we do have comforts and conveniences, like this stuff's going to continue going in one ear and out the other on Sundays.
No, 100%.
Well, that's like, well, sure. Like because I know God's there to forgive me if I don't make a change this week. I'll just come back next week and hear it again.
Well, dude, I got to the point where I was just like, dude, I can't do like the shame and guilt anymore, man. I'm bad at this. Like I'm just bad at it, and I'm not gonna keep coming every week and acting like I'm good at it, or I'm trying. Like I'm just bad at this, and like my experience writ large is like, well, but I agree with you in the sense of like the one thing that I feel like I've missed the most the last couple of years is that being in that environment with a lot of people, like the worship aspect, and I'm still trying to figure this stuff out. I don't know how it all works. I don't know if we're meant to know how it works. But all I know is I see people like the Joe Dispenzas who are out here actually gathering.
I'd love to count how many times you brought up his name on this podcast.
Not every week.
At least 370.
Well, until you Google him, I'm going to keep bringing it up.
Okay.
Just kidding. But like he is just recording scientific data of like what happens in a physiological sense in your body when you detach from fear and shame and guilt and you really latch on to like elevated emotions of like gratitude, love, peace, harmony, all that stuff, unity, all that good stuff, right? Because you could argue that like in a worship setting, all that's happening is you've got a room full of people who are, you know, despite how dark and gloomy the world might be or their world might be, like for that 20 minutes, they're going to do their best to not focus on the BS and the things that they don't like about their life. And they're going to try to like we're going to try to focus on things I'm grateful for. We're going to choose to believe that like there is a good loving God and it's going to get better. Like, so you have a room full of people actively choosing elevated emotions. And then you have people like Joe Dispenza who's just recording data about what's happening in your body when you choose to like look past like disappointment or refuse to like give in to shame and really like lay into these elevated emotions. And they're finding that, and Tony Robbins talked about this stuff like 6 years ago at the event I went to Unleash the Power Within, walked on fire like night one, but he was talking about this stuff. And he was basically saying, it's like when you are locked in with like gratitude and like the elevated emotions, your body creates like an electromagnetic field up to 9 feet wide. That's like been tested. Like they've detected it by like machines, right?
Vibes.
And then
this is where the term vibes came
well,
from.
that term gets a bad rep, but it's like is literally the most scientific thing that we have as far as we know, like how to work through this thing. And then inversely, when you are stuck in those like the lower levels of emotions with like shame, guilt, fear, all that stuff, like the magnetic field is like not traceable.
Yeah.
So it's like when you're in a room full of people who are doing their best to choose elevated emotions, like no wonder why like things are happening.
Yeah.
Like things are happening in the room. And it's not like this fugazi God is like picking like, because that's the hard part with Christianity. It's like, am I like one of God's special children today? Like, is he going to touch me extra special today? And it's like, I don't think it works like that.
Sounds pretty wrong.
Whoa.
I hate that. I mean, no, I can't. Ever since that one Kim Walker song, I just can't.
Were you a sloppy wet kiss guy?
No, it wasn't that one. It was
How'd you feel about that one though?
oh, I was fine with it. I hate when people change lyrics
Yeah.
to make it more PG, or they take lyrics out. It's just like, if you don't want to use a song, don't use a song. Just stop editing it. That gets annoying to me.
I think you would enjoy this. So there was a worship leader probably 10, 15 years ago, David Crowder, and he comes out with this song that just blew up, right? Everyone was singing it, but it was oh, how you love me so, oh, how he loves us, how he loves us so. It's that one, right? How he loves.
Yeah.
So the song just blew up in like the church world. But in the second verse, he had this line that goes, and heaven meets earth like a sloppy wet kiss, and my heart burns violently inside my chest, something like that, right? But like all these people, like it was so funny because like in the church world, it became like
we can't say
there was like
sloppy wet
the
kiss.
people, there was the sloppy wet kiss people, and then there was like the
unforeseen kiss.
Yeah, they changed it to an unforeseen kiss because they were just like, we can't sing that. That's weird.
Well, and then people took out yet from Do It Again or whatever. Never failed me yet. My church took it out. That annoyed the crap out of me.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you're a simpleton in the way you understand things, you think it means like you haven't failed me
Failure's
yet.
coming, yeah.
But it's just like you could easily take that word and put it at the beginning and still make like yet you've never failed me. It's more of that's really what the meaning is. They just stuck it at the end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like you've never failed me yet. It's meaning like yeah, and you never will kind of thing. But it's just like the people who would look at that and just see yet as only like oh, it's coming. Stupid. I hate it so much because it takes some of the artistic value out of the song and some of the emotion.
Oh, yeah, you can't not say that.
But then
They just say you've never failed me, and they just don't say the yet.
Failed me, yeah.
I mean that.
Don't even get me started.
That hook brings all the resolution. Like, you can't just not say it.
Don't get me started.
Freaking
so Kim Walker, Sing My Love. So like, can't hold my love back in you. You remember that song? Can't hold my love back in you.
Hold my love back from you?
No. It was it's like, words can never say the way he says my name, he calls me.
But does he really say her name? Like this is what I want to start asking these people some questions.
I'm asking if you know the song.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. But I hear a lot of songs like this, and I'm like, does he actually say it?
The verse 2 says, "You will not believe the way he touches me." And every time they would sing that in practice, and I'd be setting up, and I would be setting up. I'd just like, we really singing this from stage? Like, because this is all I think about, and I can't believe there's no one else that thinks this.
I will be refraining. What does it say?
You will not believe the way he touches me.
Tell me about it.
And he burns right through me. So it's not like, but it kind of moves on. But it's just like, I mean,
I think
That's poetic. Burns right through me. Woo.
Yeah, but I'm just like the whole touches me thing. I was always like, really?
it's just,
At least I didn't say burns right in me.
Well, I guess that would take it up a level. That's Gabby said that, not me.
I can't say what I'm thinking. Yep.
I can't say what I'm thinking.
Is it worse than the joke I said last week?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
No,
remember
it's
that joke either.
The on your knees joke.
Oh,
Remember that? The other one was,
you got to be able to laugh at that stuff sometimes.
well, yeah. Well, maybe I shouldn't. I'm trying to make this. Am I trying to make this cleaner or am I not? Should I even say it? Anyway, yeah. What were you gonna say?
I don't remember.
Yeah, we got off track a little bit. But yeah, I just yeah, as it relates to, because I've had that feeling too about, do we need faith living in the U.S.? Like, right? So I've said that before,
Right.
but we haven't really made it a topic or anything yet. But you know, are we almost incapable of having the true faith that other people in the world experience? Because in America, we've basically created the system to where if we want to, we don't have to depend on God. We can just work hard or do
For
whatever,
sure.
and just like have all of our stuff.
In the name
that
of
we want.
in the name of ministry, we will create our own safety net and not need God.
Right.
Like the spiritual leaders do that. It's
Yeah.
like, how in the world
Everyone does
do you
that.
expect people on the bottom to I mean, that's like, I read the book and I'm just like, I feel like a dick reading this book and understanding the rules of this game and then just showing up every week and just being like, meh. Like, I'm kind of doing it. Not really. I'm really doing what I want to do. I'm not doing it. I was just like, at some point I got to stop feeling bad. I just got to figure my stuff out. Like,
Yeah, and the other part, what I was gonna say before is, I don't like how we like just peddle scripture and like, you know, especially like the hope junkies out there. People always talking about hope. You know, people on Instagram like throwing a scripture on a video of their family or something, and they just like, you know, take the scripture out of the you know, original context or whatever. And sometimes it you know, it just means what it means at face value.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
they're not always taking it out of context. But like there's people that'll always just quote scripture and stuff. And I'm like, I just don't know. Like, is this how the state we're supposed to live in? Like, I feel like some people never get to the point of real healing because if like there's some people that talk about hope so much that I'm just like, clearly you're going through some shit, right? Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? It's usually a symptom of something that's happening in their life.
Yeah.
And then second, like I feel like I feel like people try to make that turn so quick that like they never give themselves any opportunity to emotionally heal. Like I feel like everyone, not even like non-Christians, everyone's guilty of that. Where I feel like we're just so, you know, we just try to so quickly get over a loss or get over a person that we're no longer in a relationship with, or, you know, get over something that's going on with one of our kids or, you know, whatever it is. Right. That we never really take time to emotionally process. And then we just go straight to the Bible to give us hope. And so now we're just trying to like force that upswing when we haven't really fully processed.
Well, dude, people don't realize that like secondhand revelation is a prison. And they don't realize that. Like you think it's good for you, but then you become reliant on like like there's a whole industry devoted to like self-help. You got the Gary V's and the Tony Robbins and all these guys and it's like
We are
look,
addicted
self-help
to
is
it.
great. Like I get it. But like
dude, there's nothing.
you
I'm
got to
sorry,
look
I interrupted
inward.
you.
Oh no, you're good. What are you saying?
Okay. What it may be related to what you were going to say, but what I was saying is like there, you know, you give me like 100 like banger quotes from people about helping yourself, self-help. It cannot replace like one personal revelation that you have.
Oh, 100%.
One realization that you've come to yourself. It could like totally be something you've heard before, but like there's a point when you realize it for yourself.
And it probably won't mean anything to the next guy if you were trying to tell him.
Yeah.
But it was like something
Yeah,
that
it was
just-
something that literally
Yeah.
clicked and you're just like, oh my gosh.
the light bulb
life
moment.
changing.
Yeah.
And nothing can replace that.
Well,
But
I
I
think-
feel like the more that you latch onto that other stuff,
Yeah.
it's like the less you're going to be open to receiving that personal revelation.
Bro, look at meme culture. Like we live in a world now where it's like we just repost other people's idea constantly. Like I do it all the time. It's like, this was funny. This guy made it funny. Let me just, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But like we, and maybe within the church context, it might be a little different because like there might be people who actively really don't want people thinking too much because it's like, what if their thoughts lead them to other places or what do you do?
Yeah.
But I agree. There's nothing that's more profound than firsthand revelation. And as a spirit, putting myself in the shoes of a spiritual leader, there's nothing more valuable that I could give someone than just like the journey is the prize. And you're never going to get to the destination. Like there is no destination. The journey is the prize.
Right. No, that's true.
And at some point,
I believe that too.
And that's, I think about like this life in the way that we've kind of formulated everything. And it's so common to like use these verses like we press on for the prize of like the next life. Like it's all about like the next life. And so like we honor suffering here because we think that leads to a better next life. And it's like, what if that's not what we think it is?
Yeah.
Like we're
making a
no
lot of
idea.
Assumptions. Yeah.
And then you're living a horrible version of life here.
Yeah.
Because you're not even just you're not living. You're trying to manipulate the system to get the better version in the next phase.
Oh yeah, because you think all these scriptures that you're hanging on your wall and doing all this stuff and like listening to worship music in your car, and you think that's all just preparing you for the next life. And you're not really living that life here.
Dude, okay. Random thought that's probably going to also upset a lot of people from my world. Like it's very common in certain spheres of Christianity. They literally think that for all of eternity, we're going to be like bowed down before the throne, worshiping God like for all of eternity. And it's like, first of all, we don't even have thrones anymore. Like if you can't like wrap your mind around that reality, it's like, if we wrote the book today, there'd be no thrones. Like we'd be like on the steps of Congress or like, we don't have kings sitting in thrones. And like we don't have it's not a thing. And then like, you really think that for all of eternity, God, the perfect loving God wants us to just bow? Like if I'm like a jerk of a God, I'm like, you can have fun sometimes, guys.
Well,
you don't have to literally do that forever.
That's a cultural reference that I feel like people still latch on to. That's like literal. It's a literal illustration, and it's not the case. Because I remember when I was younger. I mean, hearing that. I mean, I think we've talked about this. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no, dude, my arms would get tired. Like in the first 5 minutes. Like I'm not doing that.
Well, I think God's a good time. I don't think he's
but then
like,
you're sitting there, but then you're scared to
cry.
like say that. You just don't want to bring that up.
Yeah.
You're just like, well, everyone seems excited about it. So
that's the problem. You're just like, so we're just not going to talk about the fact that sounds like a trash way to spend eternity. Like, are you serious? It's like a good loving God would understand that. Clearly he wouldn't like that. That to me, that's a sick joke.
I think so too.
That's like by the time you get to the afterlife, you're like, psych, gotcha, bitch. You don't get to move ever.
Oh man.
Like it's just, dude, there's no way there's no way we're doing that for all of eternity.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny.
Sorry. That just really, I know that.
Well,
just
that's funny. Cause I think, that whole thought experiment that I did with, asking why did Jesus come when he did? And I thought it was like, all right, well, maybe just God's creation had to evolve a little bit to where he felt like they were ready. And it's just like, well, we're still evolving. We're still learning.
Yeah.
Maybe we're just at that next stage to where we can kind of start to realize some of this like revelation stuff where it's like, all right, God, we can go to you to try to formulate like our worldview. And it's still your spirit that guides us. It's just that it's less dependent on like like literal excerpts from the ancient text. You know what I mean? And understanding the Bible as an idea, you know, is obviously something to be respected. But it's like,
Well, if you-
I'm not going to take Paul's letter to one of the churches that, you know, is very misogynistic and, you know, make that my life, you know, story. So
yeah,
I don't.
dude. I was remember that, you know, that meme. It was like, how many days old were you when you learned about this thing? And you're like, I was today years old when I learned. Like, dude,
yeah.
that was that experience when I read that whole verse about like
Paul, when you were on the pod.
dude, that was the first time I ever read it, and I was like, my whole life I was like, nah, it's out of context.
It's
and then
like,
you read
yeah,
the whole thing, and you're
he
like,
says a couple things, and you're like, whoa,
like, bro,
he says a few things.
that. I mean, he is clearly. Yeah, I mean, you can't. We don't need to go down that road.
Yeah.
But
All right. Yeah. No, it's we're at hour 10, so
oh, glorious!
we talked. Cool.
Did the dang thing.
Well,
Heard it.
again, love you, appreciate you, listeners. Share the pod with your friends, and we will see you next episode.